What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as RideMyAvatar, and today we're going to be going over none other than a deck profile for Wargreymon for BT-14. So guys, let's strap in, get hyped for Wargreymon shenanigans. So without further ado, let's get into the video and talk about it. So let's get into the Digitama. First off, we do have 4 Coromon that draws us a card. Yes, I keep playing this one because I think the draw advantage is kind of still needed, but you could definitely play the Coromon from BT9, which gives an extra 1000 DP, or you could go for the new one that literally says if you trash a security is trashed on your opponent's side on your turn, draw a card. So you kind of get some advantages. There's some advantages, disadvantages. Whatever you think is easier for your advantage engine is what you want to do. If you're promoting up more often than not and to swing in to draw might be your best bet, especially with the new super rare Auman. So I feel like we're going to be promoting up a little bit sooner than we used to just because of the free evolution that we're going to get. So I think 4 draw Cororo is really good. Then we do have, like I said, Mr. New Auman himself. So they basically took the promo bottom half and said, you know, Greymon and Omnimon now get plus 2000 DP. But they also say now for starter main phase, if you have a tamer with Tai Kamiya in its name, this Digimon may digivolve into a Greymon from your hand without paying its cost. So we can get some free evolution, get back into the game, actually. And that's really what we want to do. And I think being able to get back, and this being an early game set changer in the DP bonus is really going to help out. I think being able to get Omni and Agumon up is really perfect. Then we do have BT-12 Agumon. So straight up searches the top 4 cards of your deck, and then basically you're going to grab a Greymon and Omnimon, and then if there's a tie in there, you get to add the tie. So that's really good, and then you get to bottom the rest. And then the fact that he's dual color, and then while this Digimon has Greymon or Omni in its name, it gets plus 1000 DP. So quite useful, very powerful. I think all turns effects, getting an extra 1000 DP keeps your Digimon a little bit more alive and stickier. Then we do play the Agumon X Antibody. Agumon X Antibody is just looking for your Greymon or Omnis and basically an X Antibody target. So, which is the X Antibody option. But the fact that reveal the top 3 cards of your deck is really how you're digging, deep this card is digging. Really solid. I think being able to hopefully go for, you know, a solid combo. Basically, if your opponent gives you 3 and your opening hand has these 2 in it, what you're most likely going to do is play Agumon down and then, you know, search the top, and then digivolve into this, giving you a draw, another search, and some benefit to getting your pieces. Even though you might not have anything to digivolve in raising at the time, this is a little bit more of a power play, especially if you gain 3. So I think being able to make the call and being able to dig and then dig again sometimes is more beneficial than digivolve and raising. More often than not, digging actually is more beneficial. Then we do have the champions. We're going to go into it. This deck basically wants to push the boundaries up lethal at our opponent. So Greymon with an extra security check is where we want it at. So being able to deal an extra damage on our swings, especially early on, if we know what kind of deck we're facing and thresholds kind of hit magic numbers, we can easily promote a Greymon up with just its X Antibody evolution above it and then swing in and hopefully deal some major damage, especially with the new Agumon giving a plus 2000 DP boost. That means that's an 8k. The likelihood of it surviving is actually higher. So I think this is really solid here. And especially if it's a free evolution too. Whew. Then we do play 3 Greymon X Antibody. This card basically is to digivolve on top of our Greymons. And then basically this thing is going to give us the protection. Remove 2 sources of the same level. If your Greymon and Omnimon would be deleted by card effect or bounced to hand or deck, you know, this gives it its protection. So it helps prevent it leaving play. The only thing it loses to is in battle combat. And then we do have 2 Greymon from the starter deck. No, just kidding. BT-5. BT-5's Greymon is when Digivolving, if you have a Agumon in his Digievolutions, gain a memory. And then while this Digimon has Omni or Greymon, this Digimon gets plus 2000 DP for its inheritable. The fact that we can give this Greymon what it wants to do is basically what you're going to do is a very cool combo, because as long as you promote this Agumon up and you have the tie out, you can Digivolve into this Greymon, gaining you even more memory, extending your plays, and then maybe get yourself into a Mega very quickly. That's kind of what you want to do with this kind of play. Is he's really more for comboing with this, and I like this a lot for a combo. Then we do have Greymon X Antibody. So this is the limited one. So this card basically says, you know, the next Digievolution on Greymon for every color, reduce it by, 1. So this makes most things that are like dual colors in this deck become 1 cost. If it's 1 color, it's basically a 2 cost reduction. So it's just a 2 cost play. That's pretty good, actually. All in all, really the main reason why I got restricted was because of its over abusiveness. And then the fact that this card, if it has an X antibody, it's the same thing with the other Greymon X, but this one, you need the option just to remove it, and then you got your protection. So, not bad. I think just being able to quick succession, Digi-Evolution, really solid. And then, let's get into it. We are playing for Raid Metal Greymon. So, it's not a bad card at all, especially because it's a dual color, and with certain combos and lines, you can get into this thing relatively cheap without much investment. So, then you can raid into things that you want to get rid of, which is really solid. I think we have a lot of potential with it. It gives a piercing inheritable, which this deck actually needs to be able to keep applying pressure, removing a threat off. Sometimes you will not be able to raid if they've already swung out, but what you're going to do for that combo is basically, you'll use the Metal Greymon and then just go into Metal Greymon X Antibody and then just swing. Who knows? It depends on how much memory you got, how much memory extensions you got, everything like that changes things up here. But with Metal Greymon here, you also have all turns when this Digimon attack target is switched. You may play a tamer, a red or black tamer with a play cost 4 or less without paying its cost. So if you have this up and you are waiting on, like, let's say Wargreymon Ace, and you have 2 of these up, that's a really important combo because you can use the blocker of the Ace to redirect, all that good stuff. But there's always some potential that you have here, and it's really good. I think more often than not, I'm sometimes just sitting on Metal Greymon, and it's really a good power play. The raid effect really helps out, especially if you have the X antibody, and then you can swing in and take out a threat with more DP, and then hopefully clear out some security. So I think that's very vital. And then basically we have what gives us our scariness, and that is Metal Greymon X Antibody. The extra security check is when Digivolving, but if you have an X Antibody or Metal Greymon in this stack, in this Digievolution, this Digimon gets plus 3000 DP until the end of your opponent's next turn. So that extra 3000 makes him 11k, and then all your other inheritables will bring him up higher. And sometimes you can just swing in with the Metal Grey now and basically hit for 13, 14 very comfortably. So I think this is really good, and it's just a kind of staple. You could play it a little differently if you want to, but I think still applying pressure of go in, deal damage, go in, deal damage is still what you want to do. Then we do have 2 of the new secret Wargreymon. So basically, if your opponent has a Digimon with 10,000 DP, you have a Tai Kamiya, your Agumon can Digivolve into this thing for a cost of 4. So ignoring Digievolution requirements, so you get to warp up. Then it has a when Digivolving, this Digimon gains raid, and then may attack. Doesn't get around Summoning Sickness, just a friendly reminder that if you just hard played and then do this combo, that's not going to help. You're not going to do anything. But when attacking, if you have a tamer, this Digimon gains security +1 and piercing for the turn. So some people don't mind playing the Metal Greymon if you're going to focus a little bit more on this, so that basically, because it gains piercing anyway, you can play the Metal Greymon that lets you swing into a target. It's a possibility. I think because you do lose out on the raid aspect after a certain point, it gets a little difficult. I get it. But the fact of you could play it that way is really solid. Then we do have 2 Raid Wargreymon. So this Raid Wargreymon's just functional. It does what it wants to do. When Digivolving, it gains Reboot and plus 3000 DP, making him really big numbers and really scary. But all turns, when an attack target is switch, it gets to unsuspend. So basically what you can do is raid into an opponent's Digimon, pierce a couple of checks, he unsuspends. Unless you're going to present lethal with an Omni for games shenanigans, you just set up and just be ready. I think this is really good. I think very powerful kind of way of playing. He's awesome. I think I like him a lot, and 2 is just fine. We just have a lot of tight space now because we do have the warp as an option, and then we do play 1 Wargreymon Ace. So a lot of decks are starting to be in Ace categories, and a lot of people aren't expecting a Ace in Wargreymon anymore. So the fact that we have this as an option is really good, because then this thing is a blocker when it comes in. It Digivolves on top any Metal Greymon level 5. So basically we're solid there. And then all turns, when a card is trashed from a security, you get to unsuspend this Digimon. He creates multi-attacking, which is solid. I think the Blast Digievolution is a really surprise for a lot of players. Will be a surprise because there's not a lot of players playing it. I've seen that JP went for Black Wargreymon. I get it, but this is just another option just to be able to surprise, because counter timing, most people aren't expecting this in a Wargreymon deck anymore. So if people are playing this now surprises them enough that it might actually change things up, especially at a well-timed. If they're going to go swinging in, counter timing, now your Digimon is 11 base plus the 3000 plus maybe 1000. So he's now bigger than most threats. And then boom, your opponent's just looking at a Wargreymon Ace. There's been many times where my Digimon is just sitting there and I have no out. So especially since we have protection from options for at least a couple turns because of our stack line, sometimes this is just useful. And then we do play 1 Wargreymon X Antibody. The fact that when a card is trashed from your opponent's security stack, gain a memory is really solid. But also, if this has Wargreymon or X Antibody in its Digievolution, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with DP less than or equal to this Digimon's DP. So he's a big boy. He threatens a lot of things. He can help you apply pressure in ways that you like. I think Greymon X Antibody is really a keeper for the deck. And then we do play 1 Omnimon X Antibody. Basically, Digivolves on top of your Omnimon for 3. Reduces the cost if you have an X Antibody in its Digievolution. And then when Digivolving, you basically clear the highest DP threshold. So if they have 2 big DP thresholds that are even, let's say 2 megas that are exactly the same, let's say 13s, they'll go right to the bottom of the deck and get off the board. And then it's when attacking and when Digivolving, you basically once per turn take a Mega or the X Antibody option out, and then boom, your opponent now is staring down a loss of security for free damage. So basically get to remove any scary options out of the way. And then we do have Omnimon Blitz. I might take out the X Antibody and just do double Blitz, because sometimes I just need to see Blitz more often than I see Omnimon X Antibody in this format. Then let's get into it. We got 3 Tai Kamiya. Basically, this thing says start a main phase or on play. If you have a Digimon with Agumon or Greymon in its name. It gets plus 1000 DP and blocker for the turn. So that's really solid there. And then your turn. When one of your Digimon digivolves into a Digimon with Greymon or Omnimon in its name, suspend this tamer, gain a memory. So pretty solid. We get the blocker aspect, puts a big threat on board, and just applies pressure that way. So I like it. I like it a lot. And then we do have two Cool Boys. You could definitely not play it, but I think Cool Boy is kind of becoming a little bit needed. We need to be on point in tempo. So I think drawing cards and gaining memory and searching for an X antibody option and for a X antibody Digimon really does help out. But being able to, since we are going, not hiding and raising as much anymore, we're going up a little bit a clock sooner. So promoting our Agumon with the starter main effect, you know, really useful. We want to have Cool Boy to be able to combo off and keep speed and tempo. And then we do have a Tai Kamiya from the starter BT-1. This card is basically going to give your stack with 4 or more an extra security pusher, and he just sets your memory to 3. So I think that's really useful. I think just 1 is fine. Then let's talk about it. We are playing 3 offensive trainings. So basically look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Then you're going to be picking one of the 2, as long as they're a red target. And then basically it comes into there for your next reduce of Digi-Evolution costs. I think offensive training is really useful for this deck because we want to reduce our Digi-Evolution costs by whatever we can. So bridging that gap to keep your turn going can really help out. And then finally, we have 2 X antibody options just because this is an X antibody themed deck. We have a lot of targets. We can Digivolve up. We combo with it nicely to apply extreme pressure. This thing basically comes in from security, gain you a memory, add it to your hand. And then basically, if your Digimon doesn't have this option underneath it, you get to put it underneath it. And then basically get to do its when attacking, you know, swing in. Especially with Tommy's around, you want to have X antibody options a little bit more. So, not terrible. And then finally, we are playing 2 Hades Force. So basically, Hades Force gets a reduced cost, comes in from 5 if you have a Digimon with X antibody, and then delete an opponent's Digimon equal to the play cost of one of your Greymons, and then that Greymon can attack. Can't get around Summoning Sickness, that's fine, but it has delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the highest play cost. So what's going to happen here is this is going to be meta dependent right now. Hades Force is still good because it can kill Tamers and a wide board at times, so you get to kill multiple Digimon equal to your play costs and Tamers. That is an option you have. There's another option you could do is Crimson Blaze. Crimson Blaze, definitely, if Fenrilugomon is the deck in your locals that is just multiple decks are going off with it, Crimson Blaze is just a little bit better than Hades Force because Hades Force can't activate fast enough, in my opinion, but that's just me. So it's up to you. You could go definitely Crimson Blaze for that basically free board wipe that you can do, and then they can't play anything. So I think this is really just a meta call. I'm just telling you this right now. That's how you want to think about it. Either you go Crimson Blaze or Hades Force. That is up to you. I think that is a very much a your choice dependency. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed the deck profile, guys. So let's space this thing out real quick. So you guys can see how I'm building it. Okay, so there you go. This is the deck list. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.